Welcome to the penultimate episode of Sport SA Daily Diary Series 1. Today we're chatting to South Africa's most successful gymnastics coach, Ilse Roets Pelser. Good afternoon, Ilse. How are you doing today?
Good afternoon. I'm doing really well, thanks, and excited to be here.
Thank you very much for joining us. It's good to chat to you. As you just mentioned, you guys are back to training gymnastics at the gym. That's great news.
Yes, so we've been back since sort of mid-June. We took a really slow start, started with sort of only an hour and a half, 2 hours of training a day, and then built it up gradually, and we're now back to doing about 3 hours a day, 5 times a week. Which is still not as many hours as what we normally did, but at least, yeah, we're getting there slowly, and it's great to be back.
Oh, no, I'm sure it's been long coming. Ilse, we'll get back to your coaching and where you are now, but I would like to sort of go back a bit in time to Ilse as a youngster. I do believe that you were a gymnast yourself. Tell us a bit about yourself sort of growing up. Were you playing other sports, or was it just really gymnastics that was it for you?
Yeah, so look, I started gymnastics at a really young age at nursery school. And from there, I was actually identified by the late Miss Nellie Cameron as a gymnast with potential, and I trained under her for the first sort of 3 years of my gymnastics career, and then moved on from there. The federation brought in a national coach by a lady by the name of Janet Mitchell, and I then trained with Miss Mitchell from about the age of 9 until about 18 when I stopped. I did a high level of gymnastics. I did 3 world championships myself as a gymnast, and participated in the 1994 Commonwealth Games, which was really an honor, and it was just wonderful to be back in sport. I did a few African championships. So yeah, gymnastics has been part of my life for the last 37 years, and I love it, and I'm very grateful for the person that it made me, and obviously love the coaching, and it's my absolute passion now.
And also, sort of growing up, there couldn't have been too many South African gymnasts that you could look up to. Were there any international gymnasts that you sort of really looked at and sort of wanted to be, essentially?
Yeah, definitely. I think everybody loved Nadia Comaneci, and I remember watching a video tape in those days of her, and the video was called Nadia. And it just, whenever I was lacking a bit of motivation or just needed a lift, and that I would watch that video. So absolutely Nadia Comaneci, but also along the way, gymnasts like Lilia Podkopayeva, Daniela Silivas, just those gymnasts were amazing. And I competed against some of the gymnasts that I look up to, like Oksana Chusovitina, who is still training today, and in fact still going for next year's Olympics.
And I mean, you mentioned those names, and a lot of them are synonymous, obviously, with the Eastern Bloc, Russia and the countries surrounding. What made them so good? But now it seems also it's sort of spread a bit, because the US is starting to churn out some fantastic athletes.
Yeah, look, so I think gymnastics is changing and evolving all the time, and the way people coach is evolving and changing all the time. But I think, and I mean, the Americans in the last sort of 10 years, have really taken the standard to a whole nother level. But yeah, it's tough to say why, they are so much further ahead. I think, they do train very long hours. We are not really, I'm not prepared to let gymnasts train more than 24 to 28 hours a week. And sometimes when we're really preparing for a big event, 30 hours a week. But, the Russians and the Chinese and the Americans, I think, are doing like 40 hours a week, and it's a lot of training, so. And then, of course, they've got a lot of resources. And the countries in Europe especially are quite close to each other, so they can compete against each other internationally, but just having to drive to their neighbor more often during a year, whereas for us we get to travel maybe 2 or 3 times a year, and it's more challenging, definitely. But yeah, those countries are amazing, and it's going to be interesting to see who's going to win in Tokyo next year.
I'm sure it's going to be very open. And Ilse, just back to you a bit. You obviously went to the Commonwealth Games in Canada. Tell us a bit about that experience. I mean, it must have been really special, essentially coming out of the apartheid era and fairly shortly going into the Commonwealth Games, having a chance to represent your country on an international stage. I mean, it really must have been, and I presume you were only about 16 or 17 at that time.
Yes, so I was 16 when we went to the Victoria Commonwealth Games in 1994, and it was a magnificent experience. It was wonderful just to be able to be amongst all those sports people and live in the athletes village and experience that it was amazing. I also made the beam finals at that Commonwealth Games, so all in all it was a fantastic experience. And as gymnasts you work really hard, and like I say, you train long hours and you get pushed, and it demands quite a lot from young people. But then when you represent your country, and especially at an event like that, it just makes it all absolutely worth it.
And Ilse, you mentioned you sort of retired in your early 20s. That's essentially when other sports guys are kind of coming into their peak, sort of mid to late 20s. Why is it with gymnastics that the gymnasts are retiring at such a young age?
Look, it's actually changing quite a lot. If I look at gymnasts now, that I've coached in the past, Claudia Cummins, Kirsten Beckett, Mamule Rankwe at the moment, they all, trained until they were about 21, 22 in Claudia's case. So the peak is definitely changing. In my day, it was 16, 17, 18. But nowadays, there's many gymnasts in their mid-20s, even into their 30s, that are really at a world-class level. And it's interesting, I've had this conversation with my current, one of my current top gymnasts, Caitlin Riskrantz, who I know everybody knows as well, but she, is turning 19 this year. And Tokyo is one of her goals, but she's already looking towards 2022 Commonwealth Games and towards 2024 Paris Olympics. So it's, it is just, I think it's definitely changing from a young girl's sport to more of a women's sport. And I'm hoping that they would put the age up even more, to 18, because then it's an adult sport. And like I say, you can handle a lot more, and by putting the age up to 18, they would demand a little bit less from kids as young as 6, 7, 8 to 9, who even in my day, we were already training, 4 or 5 times a week at that age.
But I mean, just historically, what has made it a sport for the younger generation? I mean, is it particularly difficult in terms of movement or whatever it is? But why has it been sort of dominated by teenagers, essentially?
Look, it's difficult to say, because, in the past, the belief was that, because you could do so much more at a younger age and your body could handle more. But we've now seen that that's not necessarily the truth. There was a belief that you couldn't learn skills, difficult elements anymore after the age of 16 or 17, and that then you would just maintain your skills. But what we're seeing now, and what I'm seeing now, is that actually gymnasts who are older are learning skills just as fast. So yeah, I think it's, I'm not sure exactly why that is, but I just know that it is definitely changing way more. If I look at the average age, that used to be at a World Championships, which was like 16, 17 in my day, and now the average age is in the 20s. so it's definitely changing.
And I mean, I've heard it mentioned before, and specifically by you, that gymnastics helps other sports such as swimming and running and probably ball sports as well. Do you not think it would be worthwhile schools integrating gymnastics into an element of school sport, just to give those kids a balanced overall sort of feel of sport in general?
Definitely, and I think ICE as a federation, we are moving in that direction. We definitely gymnastics, I believe, is coming back to schools. I think it's just a matter of time, until it's actually a school sport again. And I think that would be the best thing. And I remember as a youngster doing, during PT, doing gymnastics, and definitely, I really truly believe it's the foundation for so many other sports. If you look at the top pole vaulters and high jumpers in the world, even some of the top sprinters will tell you, that they did some form of gymnastics somewhere in their life. And it just, it helps with the flexibility, the strength, the gross motor development. And I absolutely think that, the more children that can benefit from it, the better. And it would be fantastic to get it back as a school sport.
And also, I mean, I can barely touch my toes. I presume you can still comfortably do the splits.
No, not really. I'm a bit older now, and I haven't really done any training for the last few years. The girls always joke because I can still do like a press to handstand and things like that on a good day. But you definitely lose it when you don't maintain it and train hard, definitely. And yeah, like I say, I wish I could still do all of those things, but 42 years old now, and now I'm just enjoying the coaching.
And you started your coaching at the age of 21. You essentially took over the gym from your mentor, Janet. That's very young, again, to get into a coaching role. Again, you look at other sports and guys are retiring at 35, 36, 40, and then going into management or coaching or whatever. Now you, as a 21-year-old, not much older than some of the girls, is taking on that coaching role. How did you find the sort of switch from having to be the athlete to now be the coach and the mentor?
Yeah, it's something that I actually thought about, just in the last week, because, like I say, one of my current really good gymnasts is Mamule Rankwe, and she's turning 21 in August. And I was 21 when I bought the club. I paid it off for many, many years. It's something that I'm very proud of. And I'm very proud that I could buy the club from someone like Janet Mitchell, who was just, she was a really tough coach. And, at times, we had our ups and downs in terms of training, but she was phenomenal. And I look up to her today still, but definitely I've got a fantastic relationship with her today. She's like my second mom, but I've evolved as a coach. Obviously, you're not the same person now as you were when you were 21, and even in my early 30s, and I started traveling internationally from a very young age. I was 23 when I started traveling, and it's yeah, you grow with the sport, and you adjust with the times, but it's been, just a wonderful 21 years of owning Johannesburg Gymnastics Centre, and definitely not something that I'd like to change anytime soon. JGC is my passion, and the gymnasts are my passion, and I love working with the children.
And also, I mean, over the years, so both athletes have changed and coaches / managers have changed. If you look at sort of 10 years ago, as a manager or a coach, you were quite hard on your athletes and ruthless and whatever. Now it's much more of a people's person kind of role where you need to mentor some of the athletes. Some of them are getting paid extortionate amounts of money, and you need to sugarcoat them essentially. What is your sort of coaching style in terms of your athletes? Does it vary in terms of the younger to the older, and dependent on personality as well?
Yeah, look, I think I'm obviously a lot stricter with younger gymnasts because of the safety element of gymnastics as well. You know, they do really difficult elements at a very young age. So it's definitely you know, you got to, they can't be fooling around and getting hurt, you know. So, but as the gymnasts get older, you know, you definitely adjust to the age. Obviously, you know, I've got a really fantastic relationship with most of my ex-gymnasts, some of them who have got their own children now, and I'm still great friends with the majority of them. Um, and and again, you definitely learn and adjust and progress. I think a coach that's not willing to recognize that, you know, that I might have made some mistakes in the past and I need to learn from them, is somebody that's not going to be able to carry on being successful as a coach, you know. And I think one of the reasons why I've been able to be successful for the last 20 years consistently is because I've known how to evolve and adjust and adapt. And Yeah, so I wouldn't say that I've got one specific coaching style. You know, definitely changes, and yes, I mean, there are days that you're really hard, and that, you know, you need to get the numbers done, and you know, and then there are days that, okay, you know what, we're taking it a little bit easier today, and it's all about managing the athlete, you know, and knowing, okay, well, today is not a good day to try and get any numbers out of them. And the other thing that's important is communication, you know, and I think. Again, it's not possible to have a fantastic relationship with every gymnast that you've ever coached, but I think for the vast majority, you know, we communicate well. And you know, I was going through just like screenshots on my phone. I've got the most amazing messages from years ago, you know, and that's when you realize, like, you've done a good job, and yeah, just got to keep going and keep learning and adjusting.
Really just following on from Janet and building a legacy for yourself.
Definitely, you know, Janet was, you know, somebody who I feel really raised the standard, and definitely of my gymnastics. And she's a remarkable woman to this day. You know, I wish she would be more involved in the gymnastics, but she isn't involved anymore. But yeah, she really is a wonderful woman.
And Ilse, I mean, you hear a lot of international sports men and women struggling with that crossover from being professional to retiring. It's like, what am I going to do next? I've trained every day of the week, and now, you know, where am I going to go or whatever? What's been more rewarding for you as an individual personally? Was it the success that you had as an athlete, or is it the success that you've had as a coach? Because you've been phenomenally successful at both.
Yeah, look, it's different, you know. As a gymnast, you are in control of your own performance, and also in control of your training and your attitude. And you know, in the end, you know, the result you get is what you put in, you know. And so I'm really proud of those achievements, obviously. But I think as a coach, you know, just being able to make a difference, and being able to really, yeah, change people's lives, you know, is so rewarding and satisfactory. And it's wonderful to qualify gymnasts to the Olympics and get them to World Championships and get them to achieve their goals. But in the end, as a coach, you know, what I've realized, it really is about them, and it's about it's their gymnastics, and we only the vehicle to get them there. And yes, you know, like I say, the vehicle changes, you know, and we evolve and adapt. But both, I'm proud of both, you know. But it's harder as a coach because you don't have control over the gymnast performance. You know, you can prepare them really well, but in the end, it's their thing, and they've got to do the job. Yeah, yeah, proud of both achievements, definitely.
And Ilse, I mean, we've chatted to Caitlin Riskrantz on Sport SA Daily Diary. Putting you a bit on the spot, is she the most talented gymnast that you've you've coached to date?
Look, yeah, you're definitely putting me on the spot, but I would say that, I've coached many talented gymnasts, but she definitely has the whole package. She's powerful, she's strong, she's flexible, she works extremely hard, she has a phenomenal attitude, great work ethic. There really isn't she anything that I can say that she doesn't have. To me, she has the whole package, and so I never would like to say that she's the most talented, but definitely one of the most talented that I've ever worked with, and also just the most amazing person, and I think that's why she's achieving this type of success, is because she just has got all. She doesn't just have the physical talent, because that's only a small percentage of the sport. You've got to be willing to grind and be determined and dedicated and tenacious and persevere, and she's had injuries and she's just comes back. She's a fantastic athlete.
And Ilse, you've mentioned a lot of athletes. Predominantly, or all of them have been girls or females. Do you coach any guys? And if not, why is gymnastics not that big a sport amongst boys or men in South Africa?
Look, I definitely we've got some boys at our club, but we don't do it at a very high level, and definitely not yet. And I think gymnastics with the boys, there are some really good clubs out there. There's Visions Gymnastics, there's Centurion Gymnastics Club, who produce boys at the highest level, and then some clubs in the Western Cape, in KZN, Pinetown, and Durban North. So I think the boys' gymnastics is definitely picking up again, but it's quite challenging for the men, because they become seniors when they turn 18. And then many of them, study for 3 years, but then by the age of 21, they finish studying, and then they actually need to go and work. And it's very difficult to work and to train, and unfortunately, we're not in that position where you can, we can't pay our gymnasts, so our athletes are not professional athletes. They do it because they want to do it, and they don't make a lot of money through gymnastics, if any. So I think that's what makes it hard for our boys to stay in the sport long enough that we can actually see, because there's hugely talented boys out there.
And Ilse, just in closing, I mean, as we've mentioned, you have had an incredible career, both as an athlete and as a coach. Has there been one moment in your career, either or, that has been like your real goosebump moment, that's something you'll never forget?
Definitely. I think last year when Caitlin won that gold medal on uneven bars in Hungary was just, we didn't expect it. She qualified in 6th place. She literally did the bar routine of her life, nailed the landing. And I remember when I walked towards her, I said to her, I think you've done it. I think you might just have won, and I mean, we had, both of us, we were sobbing, tears in our eyes. It was a wonderful, wonderful moment, and grateful that I could share it with her, but also grateful to everything that it's meant to the Federation and to JGC as a whole, because we work really hard. We put in so much, not just myself, so many other coaches that are part of our coaching team, who have worked with Caitlin, so it was just a wonderful reward and absolutely a goosebump moment.
And I mean, just one more, sort of being a dad myself, I know the pride that a parent has. The kid walks for the first time or kicks a soccer ball for the first time or whatever. Is that the pride that you had for Caitlin over that period? Because you do spend a phenomenal amount of time with your athletes. They spend time at your house, and they integrate into your family essentially. Was it you're my daughter, I'm your mom type proud moment for you?
Yes, definitely. It was, and also just pride, for her own mom, who has given up so much to help her to achieve what she has achieved, so definitely, it's such a big moment, and like I say, it's nice when a plan comes together, and it's a culmination of so many things and years of hard work and persevering, and it's not, it's proud for her. You know what I mean? It's proud for her because she achieved something she worked so hard for. And it really is about her, and it was wonderful.
I'm going to slightly disagree with you, and I'm going to say you need to be proud of yourself as well, because without you, she wouldn't be where she is. So I think don't discount your own part in her story, because it certainly is not gone unnoticed.
Thank you so much, Adam. I really appreciate that so much.
Also, it's been great chatting today on Sport SA Daily Diary. Thank you very much for your time. Keep the great work going, and we're looking forward to seeing both Caitlin and yourself at the Olympics next year, and hopefully many, many more after that.
Yes, thank you so much, and it was wonderful chatting to you.
In our final episode of Sport SA Daily Diary Series 1, we'll be catching up with the South African flag bearer from the Winter Youth Olympics.